Our heroes have arrived at Ravenhill, the city of clerics. All they need to do is deliver the letter from Mayor Higgs to the Baron. Easy, right? As they walk through the streets, the party notice several things about their new surroundings. Firstly, almost every building is a temple to some good-aligned deity or another. Despite the beautiful white marble buildings, there is a very old and out-of-place statue of a raven at the city square. And lastly, all the citizens seem terrified to go anywhere near one another. As our heroes head up the main road towards the fortified manor house at the city's peak, a blood-curdling scream rings out. Investigating, they spy a small crowd gathering around a scarecrow with a coat of flayed human skin stretched over it. The city guard, a small troop of paladins and clerics led by a gruff-looking gnome, show up and start taking the body down for burial. "Move along, folks! Nothing to see here, nothing to see here!" Getting the gnome's attention, the party introduce themselves and ask what's going on. The gnome, Ren Falcor, is at first curious as to why four strangers are so interested in a murder scene, until our heroes explain that they've seen this before back in the dwarven town of Karnarek. Thinking for a moment, Ren asks if the party would follow him back to the precinct where they can discuss this further. As the group of clerics carry the body away for burial, Mayeth notices that one of them has a strange tattoo of a nine-tailed flailed whip on their wrist. Following Ren up the main road, two figures pounce from the crowd and tackle Armless to the ground. To his surprise, his assailants are his twin half-brother and sister, Tori and Virik. The twins, super excited to see their big brother, explain that their dad is visiting a noble friend of his in town to discuss trade agreements. Armless's stepmother, Elva, shows up and is less than impressed to see Armless there. After their brief catch-up, they tell him that they're staying at the Raven Rest Hotel and that he and his friends should be welcome any time and come and see them later on after they finished shopping. Following Ren, the party are led to the Temple of Tyr, that also acts as the police station and the court. In his office, Ren tells our heroes that over the past few weeks people have been going missing, their bodies showing up days later flayed and draped over straw scarecrows. Ren's men are too scared to touch the case, and it's too big a project for him to handle alone. He asks them if they'd be willing to look into it for him. Since they're not members of the town guard, and no one in town knows them, they'll be able to sniff around without spooking the real killer. The party explain that they're only in town to deliver a message to the Baron, but Ren informs them that the Baron doesn't accept visitors. He stays locked away in his mansion and only sees people once a year at his annual parties that he throws to keep favour with the local nobles. The only way anyone gets to those parties is by invitation. Ren agrees to help them get access to the party if they look into the murders for him, and the party agree. Just then, a woman bursts into Ren's office, demanding that she speak with him. Flustered, Ren leaves with her and lets the party read through the autopsy reports of the 10 victims. As they scour the files, several things stand out. 3 victims had a tattoo of the nine-tail whip on their wrist, and 6 others were war veterans from the Steam Wars. At this, Armless remembers that when he was a kid, his father told him of his great-uncle, Varys Noruk, who fought in the Great War that ravaged Thalia 40 years ago. His father had told him how the far kingdoms to the north of Thalia, beyond the Hollow Mountains, were very industrial. After using up all their resources, the kingdom started advancing south, first hollowing out the mountains for all their ore, hence the new name Hollow Mountains, and then declared war on the southern lands. But the southern forces of Thalia rallied together and pushed the northern invaders back. Just then, Ren returned looking very stressed after his conversation with the woman in black. The party tell him what they found, and Mayeth points out that he'd seen one of Ren's men with a similar tattoo to 3 of the victims. He also recognized it as a symbol of Lovitara, goddess of pain. Infuriated that one of his own men could be involved with murder, Ren and the party interrogate Private Phineas about his tattoo. A terrified Phineas lets slip that the elite club he belongs to meets at a pub called the Unicorn's Flower. At the pub, the party buys some overly priced drinks and talk to the barman to see what information they can get. When it leads them nowhere, Dawson uses the disguise self spell to make it look as if he has a nine-tailed whip tattoo. At this, the barman tells him to come back at 11 o'clock for the festivities. With time to kill, no pun intended, the party head to the Raven's Rest Hotel to meet with Armis's family and see if they can get a room for the night. As soon as they walk through the door, however, it is clear that the Raven's Rest Hotel is not your usual low-key pub, but rather a really fancy 5-star hotel. Armis's family are busy eating dinner when Elar spies our heroes and beckons them to join their meal, much to Elva's disapproval, not just because of a dislike for Armless, but the fact that all of the party is still covered in cobalt blood and carrying a severed head. The party enjoy a lovely meal and get a chance to ask Elar more about the Steam Wars. Elar doesn't really know how much he can help, as all he knows is the basics, that his uncle, Arminis's great-uncle, was a general in the Southern Army and died tragically in the final battle along with his wife. If they want more information, they better check out the local library. After their meal and getting a room for the night, generously paid for by Elar, the party unload their belongings and head to the library. There they find a book denoting details of the Steam War and the history of Ravenhill. Inside was a list of town founders, 6 of whom were the veterans who had been murdered. One name had been mysteriously crossed out, and there were 2 names the party recognised, and one they didn't. Flint Higgs, the dwarven mayor of Helby, Carrick Zar, a dragonborn of high renown that Mayeth remembered hearing about in his youth, and Thaddeus Bulric, the Baron's real name. Curious and suspicious, the party headed back to their hotel room and opened Mayor Higgs's letter to the Baron. My dear Baron, I hope this letter finds you well. I would like you to know that it is secret, it is safe. The ritual continues. Hey everyone, I hope you liked this episode. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and click the little bell icon for future notifications on upcoming episodes. See you all next time.